All right. So also in trending news this morning, you may have heard it broke yesterday. Melania Trump sat down with CNN's Anderson Cooper to discuss not just her reaction to the tapes that were released. With the conversation that took place with the live mics or the hot mics with then Access Hollywood host Billy Bush and Donald Trump about 11 years ago. Now, keep in mind, Donald Trump was 59 at this time. The Trump camp has constantly spun this as locker room talk and simply a conversation that happens between men. You know, it's just something to be expected, and all men have this conversation. Of course, there's been many that have come out and said this is not the conversations that men have, and for the most part, we don't sit around and discuss assaulting women. What Trump described in the tape with Billy Bush that I can't play because of the timing this early in the morning, we know this to be assault. But Anderson asked Melania what she thought when she first heard the tapes, and this is what she had to say.
Hollywood released that tape. I'm wondering, when you first saw it, when you first heard it, what did you think?
I said to my husband that, you know, the language is inappropriate. It's not acceptable. And I was surprised because that is not the man that I know. And as you can see from the tape, the cameras were not on. It was only a mic. And I wonder if they even knew that the mic was on, because they were kind of a boy talk, and he was lead on, like egg on, from the host to say dirty and bad stuff.
You feel the host, Billy Bush, was sort of egging him on?
Yes, yes.
Is that language you had heard him use before?
No, that's why I was surprised, because I said, like, I don't know that person that would talk that way, and that he would say that kind of a stuff in private. I heard many different stuff, boys talk. The boys, that the way they talk when they grow up and they want to sometimes show each other, oh, this and that, and talking about the girls. But I was surprised, of course.
Okay, Melania Trump speaking out, and she basically says she was surprised. Boys talk, and of course, boys growing up. So she goes on in this same interview to say that, well, okay, so let me just address that, because I got free reign here. Boys growing up, they do say things. I grew up saying all types of things. I never described being able to do anything I wanted to do to a woman because I was a celebrity as a boy growing up. Like what Donald Trump, what he described was that he could essentially grab women by the pussy, and he could do it because he's a celebrity. That's not locker room talk. That is assault. That is a sex crime. That is against the law. But furthermore, Melania said, and this is the part that went viral, she's claiming that Billy Bush was egging him on. Billy Bush simply said, oh, really? Wow. Yeah. If you listen to the tapes, you've heard the tapes. They're available on our website. You've heard. All in all, these comments were made. Billy Bush loses his job. Donald Trump is still in the runnings to be the president, and there are tons of people standing behind him. So that's where I kind of have a loss. I'm also going to tell you some of the things. Furthermore, she said this is locker room talk. Another piece of the interview that I'm not going to play just for the sake of time, she said that this is the way that she understands men to talk. I think that's extremely sad. I feel bad for her if that's the only way that she expects men to talk, especially when they're in private, or when she's describing the men in her family and the men that she spends the most time with. Now, further in the interview, she describes her experience as a housewife or living in the Trump household. She said she's very committed to raising her child, and that's her number one priority. That's why she's chosen not to campaign and be on the campaign trail with Trump, because they do have a son at home. But she also alluded to the fact that she understands that her responsibility is like raising two little boys at home. She said accurately, it's Donald Trump, by the way, who's 70 years old, and her son. She feels like she's raising two teenage boys all the time. She goes further to say this, and I want to address this last statement. This is Melania and Anderson again.
And as I many times said, and he said it as well, it's very hard, especially for him, when he decided to run for presidency, because he did so many stuff in his life. He was on so many tapes, so many shows, and we knew that tapes will come out, people won't want to go against him. But my husband is real, he's raw, he tells it as it is. He's kind, he's a gentleman, he supports everybody. He supports women, he encourages them to go to the highest level, to achieve the dreams. He employs many, many women. And as you can see, I see now, it's a lot of backlash on the media.
Okay, so that's fine. He supports plenty of women. But there are so many things that Donald Trump has said. And I wrote an article yesterday. I don't know if I don't know where it'll be published, but I think it's ironic that we are expected to take the words of Donald Trump at face value for who he is today, when he's been all of these different people in the years that we've known him. Now, granted, he's been a celebrity. Had he known that he was running for president, but the things that he said constantly since he's been in the running, he said in 1990 that if he ever ran for president, he would run as a Republican because that's the stupidest party. Words from Donald Trump. But these are some of the things that he said. And the Telegraph, it's a UK newspaper, put together a sexism tracker tracking every offensive comment that Donald Trump has ever said. Now, I'm going to warn you that these words, some of them are very offensive. They start with, or some of the words are fat, pig, dog, slob, disgusting animal. But we'll grab a few of these and talk about them. In 1990, when he belittled his wife, in an interview with Vanity Fair, he was still married to then his first wife, Ivana Trump. He said, "I would never buy Ivana any decent jewels or pictures. Why would I give her negotiable assets?" In 1991, just a year later, he called women beautiful pieces of ass. When George H.W. Bush was president, Trump spoke to Esquire magazine about the media and said, it doesn't really matter what they write as long as you've got a young and beautiful piece of ass. As you know, he said in 1997, all women are gold diggers, in an interview that was televised with called Trump, The Art of the Comeback. In 2004, he said he was irresistible to women, and he told the Daily News that all of the women on The Apprentice flirted with him, consciously or unconsciously, and that just has to be expected. It goes on and on. As we all know, that he talked about his daughter in 2006 and said, if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. Of course, he later released a statement saying that it was a joke. It goes on, and my dilemma here is trying to take for face value that he's now, all of a sudden, because he decided to run for president, a brand new person. Like now, Donald Trump he's someone who respects women. He's someone that respects individuals, and he's not. I think he's used this platform as a shrine to himself, and he likes these rallies because Donald Trump is celebrating himself over and over and over again. So the question that I have for not just Donald Trump, but I have a lot of Republican friends that have kind of spoken to me, and even we talk past race, and their comments have been, so you need to encourage black people to open their eyes and see that the Democratic Party in the past has used you guys as pawns, and you're not really worthy of their vote. When if you look at some Republican policies, they would really affect your community in a greater way. There may be some truth to this, but what is also true is, regardless of me looking at your party, while I'm doing that, are you trying to convince me that Donald Trump is the best that you had to offer? Out of 16 people that were running for this office, your party was able to let all 15 others slip through the cracks and present us with the change maker, the savior for not just our community, but for the United States, Donald Trump. And I'm supposed to accept at face value that he's a different person, although every factual thing, every artifact that can be found about him and his past would suggest that he's not someone that believes in equality. He does not treat minorities equally. He does not value or respect women. But since he says he does, he must. With that, my counter question to you is, why doesn't anyone believe us when we tell you that there's a problem? If we're accepting things at face value, when you hear a black person say there is a systemic problem in the police force, or we say there's a systemic issue against the black family, why does no one listen to those words and say, hey, you said it, we believe it? Just my question. We're going to move on. I got more entertainment coming up. And, of course, your ShakeUP letter coming up in about 20 minutes. Right now, DJ Luke Nasty might be...